Thank you for that very kind introduction. And I do appreciate the plug for the books. Truth in Advertising, however, they are like most Rutgers books. Once you put them down, they're virtually impossible to pick up again. Now, since we are...
Before we get started, for the board members who would like to see the presentation, we might just kind of go to the audience. So if anyone wants to move, I want to give everyone a second to do that. Sorry.
We're truly not leaving you, okay?
No, we're not leaving. We're not leaving.
We're coming back.
Well, since we are all interested in looking at the future this morning, I would like to forewarn you that predicting the future is difficult, and I predict it will always be so. To badly paraphrase Mark Twain, July is one of the most dangerous months to do forecasts. The other dangerous months are August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and June. One basic admonition before we begin: I've often been accused of being much better at forecasting the past than forecasting the future, so consider yourselves forewarned. What I would like to do this morning is to look at the basic job trajectory in New Jersey, and then examine the status of our most critical economic infrastructure, the suburban office industry. I'll also touch on the new demographic paradigm that is impacting the economy very substantially. And I'm going to partition the presentation into 6 basic observations. So number 1, where are we in the business cycle? Now, as shown in this slide, the 2001-2007 economic expansion, which we also call an economic upcycle, ended in December 2007, and the Great Recession began. Now, the end of an upcycle is a little bit like old age, You don't like it, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, and eventually it kills you. Well, it didn't exactly kill us, but it came awfully close. The Great Recession lasted 18 months. It started in December of '07 and ended in June of '09. So June 2009 marked the end of economic contraction and the start of economic recovery. Consequently, the current economic expansion is now 49 months old, June '09 through July 13. Now, I think more people in New Jersey have had Elvis sightings than believe the expansion is now 49 months old. But it is what it is. A key point of reference: the average length of all post-World War II expansions in the United States was 58 months. So at 49 months, our current expansion is now far from youthful. It's undeniably aging. Nonetheless, despite this aging, employment deficits still confront the United States and New Jersey, and these deficits persist despite very positive job advances the past 3 years. So we were deep in the economic abyss, and the climb out has been long and difficult. So let's look at the numbers. This will take the form of a very simple bar chart. Now, as an aside, there's absolutely no political significance to this. Just so happens in this slide, red is bad and blue is good. As was noted, the recession officially ended in June of 2009. But employment losses in New Jersey, exactly the same as the nation, continued for another 8 months. And those losses finally stopped in February of 2010. And during that 26-month period, between December of '07 and February 2010, New Jersey lost approximately 241,000 private sector jobs. That's the far left bar in the slide. At that point, the losses were so staggering that it seemed to me as if we were in the pre-deceased stage of the economic life cycle. But just at about the time I thought the economy was about to fall completely out of bed, something happened, something which actually shocked me. The world neglected to come to an end, and our descent into the economic abyss finally came to an end. Although forecasts of New Jersey economists at the time of whether that was actually happening did vary widely. And I think that substantiates the old saying, if you took all the economists in New Jersey and laid them end to end, they'd still point in different directions. Actually, we have three kinds of economists in New Jersey: those that can count and those that can't. And all three types have never demonstrated any visible skills at predicting turning points in the business cycle. But employment did finally start to recover, as shown by the second or middle bar. The state added 145,100 jobs in the 39 months between February 2010 and May 2013. That's the middle bar. That leaves a current deficit of 95,500 jobs, the far right bar. That means we still have to add over 95,000 jobs just to get back to where we were prior to the Great Recession. New Jersey has recovered 60% of its job losses. The United States has done a little bit better. It's recovered 79%. So despite very, very substantial progress, particularly the past 3 years, we are lagging the nation. And that lag is really due to two principal factors. First, New Jersey is not a participant in the nation's manufacturing rebound. And that manufacturing rebound was heavily centered on the massive federal rescue of the automobile industry and its very strong recovery. We had already lost our last two automobile production facilities in 2004 and 2005. So the national manufacturing recovery has had only minimal positive impact in New Jersey. Now, as an aside, if there is a factory of the future in New Jersey, it will probably be staffed by one man and one dog. The man is needed to feed the dog, while the dog's job is to keep the man from touching the computer. Okay, the second factor is demography. Our population has been growing slower than the nation, so we are getting a smaller demographically driven component of economic growth. That is, we have slower growth in housing and population-serving economic activities. In any case, both New Jersey and the United States still have not fully extricated themselves from their employment loss holes. But the good news for the state is contained in observations 2 and 3. Number 2, detailing the New Jersey recovery trajectory. This slide presents the state's recent yearly job totals. In 2009, measured December to December, New Jersey was hemorrhaging jobs. That's the far left bar. Almost 116,000 jobs were lost in a single year. It doesn't get any worse than that. If your greatest ambition in life was to be downsized or fired, that was a great time to be a New Jerseyan. But the employment hemorrhage was finally staunched in 2010. Stability and a modest turnaround were achieved when we gained 9,200 jobs. Then, in 2011, growth tripled to 28,400 jobs. That was more than doubled in 2012 when we gained 59,000 jobs. So over the 4 years, minus 116, plus 92, plus 28, plus 59, applying all of the keen analytical ability that I've honed during my many decades at Rutgers, I think I discern a trend in the making. Now, we can confirm that trend by annualizing the first 5 months of data in 2013, converting those 5 months into a yearly equivalent. So we are on course to add over 73,000 jobs this year. So our recovery started off slowly in 2010, but it has continually accelerated. And this is the best trend line in New Jersey since the second half of the 1990s. Now, the next slide I'm going to put up, these 5 bars are the 5 right bars in this slide. So, as you can see, the aggregate growth of the 20 to 2013 period dwarfs that of the very weak mid-2000s expansion, 2003 to 2007. So the latter is shown by the itty-bitty blue bars in the middle of the slide. And 2013 is destined to surpass the job total that we achieved in the year 2000, and that was the final year of the great 1990s boom. So, the end result of this improving trajectory is the focus of Observation 3, New Jersey's national ranking. How do we compare, how do we match up against other states? Well, this slide ranks the 50 states according to private sector job growth in 2012, measured December 2011 to December 2012. As you can see, New Jersey ranked a solid 8th, and only New York in the Northeast was ahead of us. New York was in 4th place. Now, to put New Jersey into further perspective, let's look at some of our other Northeastern peers and competitors. Massachusetts is ranked 16th, Pennsylvania 17th, Connecticut 37th. So the bottom line is, at the end of the day, 2012 turned out to be a much better year than I had expected, and finally an industrial strength expansion emerged. And it looks like 2013 we will surpass 2012. Okay, truth in advertising too. Over the years, I have been labeled the following: the Dr. Kevorkian of the New Jersey economy, the official Garden State doomster, the Prince of Pessimism, and worst of all, the nattering nabob of economic negativity. So, in order not to jeopardize my hard-earned reputation as New Jersey's economic killjoy, let me now turn to a broad new reality, new economic reality that New Jersey has to confront. And this is the focus of Observation 4, the suburban office problem, or the suburban office dilemma. So let's take a quick glimpse in the economic rearview mirror. During the final 2 decades of the 20th century, the New Jersey economy underwent a total and complete transformation. In 1980, we had a badly aging urban manufacturing economy. We were a state hemorrhaging obsolete industrial age jobs and factory inventory and plant. But by 1990, a short 10 years later, we had transformed ourselves into a leading-edge post-industrial information age economy. This new economy was sheltered in office buildings. Office buildings became the factory floors of the new economy, where an increasing share of value added was produced. And that sheltering was accommodated by the great 1980s office building boom, which completely reinvented the New Jersey economic landscape. By 1990, 80% of all the office space ever built in the history of New Jersey had gone up in the 1980s. In 1980, New Jersey was a non-player in the broad regional office market, 3-state office market centered on Manhattan. By 1990, the 11-county northern and central New Jersey market area itself, which includes Hunterdon and Somerset, had emerged as the 5th largest metropolitan office market in the country. It was one of the greatest suburban office agglomerations in the United States, much of it located in the state's freeway-oriented growth corridors. Now, this was the nation's cutting-edge growth model at the time, and it was the Garden State's core economic specialization, our unique nation-leading spatial competency, auto-dependent office corridors. Back to the future, 2013. Our core office supply is now 23 to 33 years of age, so it is undeniably a mature inventory. Much of it built before cell phones, before the internet, before fiber optics, when the state-of-the-art computer was was powered by an 8386 microprocessor. And the suburban office corridor geography is no longer cutting edge, nor are isolated one-dimensional suburban corporate campuses. Obsolescence has crept in because of vast advances in information technology, fundamentally new business models and new business processes, and changing demographics. The new demographic paradigm that emerging is also helping to reshape the workplace itself as well as workplace geography, which leads us to number 5, the greatest age structure transformation in American history, in New Jersey history. This transformation is defined by 2 demographic cohorts. The first is maturing 60-somethings, defined by aging baby boomers pursuing empty nester lifestyles, desperately trying to adapt to cutting-edge technologies, and facing retirement. The second comprises 20-somethings and young 30-somethings. These are echo boomers or millennials, defining a resurgent entry-level rental housing market, new workplace protocols, new workplace preferences, and certainly a whole different set of values in terms of locational preferences. So let's briefly review them. First, maturing 60-something baby boomers. Now, I should point out to you that one of my favorite academic spectator sports is terrorizing baby boomers about their inexorable aging. And I think I see a few maturing boomers in the audience this morning, but I'm going to spare you that today. Suffice it to say, the baby boom is that vastly oversized population cohort born between 1946 and 1964, the classic pig in the demographic python. This is the largest generation ever produced in U.S. history, largest generation ever produced in New Jersey history. Now, being the vast suburban catchment area for New York City and Philadelphia, New Jersey turned out to be baby boom central. This was the most suburban-centric generation in history, and it fundamentally defined every dimension of New Jersey at each of its life cycle stages. It was born and reared in suburban New Jersey, formed households there, reproduced there, shopped there, worked in the new office inventory there, traded up in the housing market there, and entered its late life cycle stages there. Now, I should point out to you that 2011 was a dramatically bad year for the baby boom. They soared as a disaster of biblical proportions. The first boomer hit the big 65 years of age. That's going to continue until 2029, when every baby boomer will be 65 and over. Right now, leading-edge suburban saturated boomers are swelling the ranks of 60-somethings. Again, as I noted, they're pursuing empty nester lifestyles, trying to adapt to cutting-edge technologies, and the leading edge are starting to exit the labor market. The second cohort of the great age structure transformation is the advancing growth echo, 20-somethings and young 30-somethings. These are echo boomers or millennials, born between 1977 and 1995, also known as Gen Y, millennials, etc. And they represent the second great population bulge of the 20th century, falling just short of the size of the original baby boom. They are now defining a resurgent entry-level rental housing market, again, new workplace preferences and values. They're a tech-savvy generation wanting to live in higher density activity environments. They don't find one-dimensional office campuses particularly attractive. The most talented and highly skilled echo boomers are now known as the digerati, and they have even stronger work and lifestyle preferences. So, finally, observation 6, a summarization of the dynamics at work. We now have a mature office portfolio largely set in suburban campuses and highway corridors. This was the preferred configuration of the baby boom past. It is not the preferred configuration of the echo boom present or the echo boom future, the digerati present and future. In addition, insular, one-dimensional corporate community formats may no longer be congruent with new business protocols and work processes. Huge single-tenant campuses will be few and far between. In their stead are exciting, walkable, multifunctional 24-hour environments. Many businesses now depend on innovation and collaboration, not standardized routine work processes. And physical space is the biggest lever to encourage innovation and collaboration. So consequently, interior office ecosystems are also dramatically changing, and the office building industry in New Jersey is currently engaged with this change with a vengeance. The office and cubicle forms inhabited by the baby boom of yesteryear are yielding to the open, flexible, collaborative spaces desired by the echo boom today. I'm going to take you through a quick series of slides to provide you with a brief view of emerging interior configurations that reflect 21st century work processes. Interactive team space. Collaborative space 1, empty. Collaborative space 2, team project. Collaborative space 3, Skyping. Notice how happy the workers are. They're all smiling. Collaborative space 4, chance interactive public space. This is where casual intellectual collisions can take place and new ideas can emerge. Multifunctional space, clustered communal desks, contemplative space when you have to work in isolation and write, private and public meeting spaces adjacent to one another. This is from an office furniture catalog. It's semi-private meeting space with different work position options. There's interior seats and an interior table. Then you have exterior bar stools and raised counter space, all facing a large monitor, and the rear of the monitor is on the far right of the slide. Daylighting workspaces. This is a public health standard in Europe. It's coming to the United States with a vengeance. Daylighting 2. Another mix of personal, collaborative, open and closed spaces, co-working shared spaces, multifunctional spaces, sheltered open meeting. So that's just a glance of what's happening on the interior of our office buildings, if they are salvageable. So the bottom line, this is not your father's office. It's a new working world. The economic reality of today and tomorrow increasingly suggests there is simply too much outer suburban office product. The outer suburban office footprint will most likely contract. I terrorize the office industry by telling them it's oversupplied and under-demolished. Suburban product closer to the region's center and near desirable activity centers has a much greater future potential. Urban vibe in a suburban setting. Demonstration of my extraordinary forecasting prowess. When Merck acquired shearing plow 2 years ago, I predicted that the older shearing facilities in Kenilworth and Summit and Union County were doomed, that they would probably be shuttered in favor of the stellar Merck headquarters palace in White House Station in Hunterdon County. This 22-year-old complex is at the outer perimeter of the metropolitan area, and it truly is a palace. However, it is this facility that will actually be phased out by Merck, and it's going to be supplanted by the inlying Summit facility by 2015. Again, that's when they acquired shearing plow. Publicly stated Merck rationale. Summit is close to mass transit, is close to multiple vibrant downtowns, close to a range of housing options. Now, when you look at this building, this certainly has daylighting potential. Its basic design gives you more window area and wall space per square foot than a comparable rectangular building. So it would be suitable for reimagining and reinventing that for subsequent 21st century office use. The problem is, can it be converted to a multi-tenant facility, or you're desperately going to seek one single tenant, which are very, very few and far between. Another observation, this is ExxonMobil in Annandale, 102nd large million square foot corporate campus. This is a very substantial, impressive piece of economic infrastructure. But without offending anybody, it's starting to look old and tired. It's looking so 20th century. It certainly would not meet current daylighting preferences given the modest window sizes. It's a very much bunker-like in appearance. So let's compare it to ExxonMobil's cutting-edge 21st century facilities in Texas, and I hope this comes in clear. This is their new energy center gateway in their North Houston campus, which is the new center of their national consolidation. They're moving most of the Houston area activities into this new campus that they're building. They're moving their research center from Virginia down to Houston. As you can see, it's a glass cube seemingly floating on some cantilevered glass extensions of the building. So glass, glass, more glass. This is the east promenade of the campus. But wait, there's more. This is going to be a complete company town, an ecologically themed, master planned, mixed use, full community with an urban vibe core. So they're trying to create a vibrant urban mixed use center. And the theme is a community footprint that will balance nature, urbanism, and diversity, all types of amenities and the like. Compare it again to our ExxonMobil facility in Clinton. These are not in the same ballpark, they're not in the same league. But the good news is, despite rumors, ExxonMobil has made it very clear that they will not move the Clinton activities to Houston. This is one of the few facilities that's going to be outside of Houston, so hopefully we can keep that in the New York region. So the question for suburban New Jersey, how do we transform a sterile office park or campus into a more exciting, multifunctional, interactive sense of place? Can we transform our aging suburban growth corridors into appropriate 21st century office environments? So the basic opportunity is to transform, restructure, and reimagine suburban office ecosystems. And it may be the task to save our core suburban economy by effectively adjusting to the new technologies, business protocols, new demographics, and the generational change in the workplace. So we have a large, large agenda in front of us. Now, since I'm basically in the education business, I feel it incumbent to provide you with two brief administrative lessons as we look to our continued post-recession future. And please feel free to impart it to your staffs. And this is going to take the form of two stories. Story number one, a junior administrator, a senior administrator, and their boss were walking together on their way to a luncheon meeting. They come across a wonder lamp on the sidewalk that hadn't been there before. They immediately pick up the lamp, they rub it, and a genie appears. The genie says, normally one is granted 3 wishes, but as you are 3, I will allow 1 wish each. So the senior administrator jumped up and rudely shouted, I want the first wish, I want the first wish. I want to be in the Bahamas on a fast boat and have no worries. Poof, he was quickly gone. Seeing this, the junior administrator could not keep quiet and shouted, I want to be in Florida on a lounge chair by the pool with a cocktail and have no worries. Poof, he was quickly gone. The genie then turns to the boss and says, your wish, madame. The boss then calmly tells the genie, I want those 2 clowns back in the office at their desks by the time I return from the luncheon meeting. Lesson number 1, always allow your boss to speak first. Story 2, a boss is standing in front of an office shredder with a piece of paper in his hand. A junior administrator walks by and the boss stops him. Listen, says the boss, this is a very sensitive and important document and my secretary has left. Can you make this machine work? Certainly, said the junior administrator. turns the machine on, inserts the paper, and presses the start button. As his paper disappears inside the shredder machine, the boss exclaims, "Excellent, excellent. I need just one copy." Lesson number 2. Never, ever assume your boss knows everything. Now, I was reminded earlier not to forget that the brain can only absorb what the seat can endure. And I think I'm starting to stress your endurance. So I'm ending it right here. Thank you very much.